Hello, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Stephen Hodgson, and I'm the Head of Publishing and Syllabus Development at AMEB. I'm very happy to be here today for AMEB's Teaching Syllabus webinar. And I'm joined here today by Dr. Emily Dollman, a member of the Specialist Advisory Group for the development of the new syllabus and resources, and who I'll introduce in a little bit more detail very shortly. During this Teaching Syllabus webinar, Emily will talk through the new syllabus and resources in detail, giving an overview of the people and principles behind the syllabus, the resources available to support candidates on their journey through it, as well as delving into the various assessment tasks that candidates need to complete and pass in order to be able to achieve either the Certificate Teacher of Music Australia or the Associate Teacher of Music Australia awards. The new syllabus and publications represent a vast amount of work from quite a large team of contributors. Firstly, of course, I'd like to thank the primary consultant and reviewer team for the project, Dr. Bradley Merrick and Dr. Jennifer Blackwell, for their tireless and expert contributions over a number of years and a number of syllabus drafts. At various stages throughout development, each aspect of the syllabus was also reviewed by a panel of specialist contributors, including Dr. Rita Cruz, Dr. Jodie Heald, Tess Hill, Valerie Lang, Dr. Elizabeth Mitchell, and of course, Dr. Emily Dollman, who we have here today. All members of this panel provided incredibly valuable feedback on all aspects of the syllabus and supporting resources during their development. And we at AMEB would like to thank each of these contributors for the very significant part they played in the syllabus development process. From AMEB's point of view, what we hope to achieve with this new teaching syllabus was a way to connect music teachers at various points during their teaching journey with current thinking and international best practice on key teaching topics, and present a framework by which teachers could integrate these concepts into their own teaching practice, as well as providing some tools for self-reflection to help teachers develop and continue developing. We all know the best teachers never stop learning. We know that people come to music teaching with a variety of backgrounds, from simply advancing to a certain point as a musician themselves, perhaps graduating with a performance degree, or even returning to teaching after a significant break. But as music teachers, we have very similar goals, and that is to create the right conditions for students to reach their full potential and to help them find the passion for music that I think we all share. AMEB couldn't be happier with the syllabus and publications that have been developed by the consultant reviewer and team of expert advisors, and we're genuinely excited by the impact we hope they will have on music education in Australia. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Emily Dollman, member of the Specialist Advisory Group overseeing the development of this new AMEB teaching syllabus. Emily is Associate Director in Music Education and Pedagogy with the Elder Conservatorium of Music at the University of Adelaide, and the founding Artistic Director of the Open Music Academy. Emily's career combines extensive experience as a professional violinist with a deep commitment to music education, teaching in primary and secondary schools, as well as in the tertiary sector. Her responsibilities at the Elder Conservatorium include the coordination of music education and pedagogy courses at both the undergraduate and postgraduate level, as well as teaching into the degree programs of the Bachelor of Music, Master of Music, and Graduate Certificate in Music Teaching. Emily is a passionate believer in quality music education for all and is committed to developing improved systems of collaborative education across music networks. Emily is a member of many boards and councils, including roles as a TEQSA expert advisor, ASME SA council member, AMEB SA advisory board member, and the South Australian Music Education Roundtable. So welcome, Emily. Thank you again so much for your work on the new syllabus and resources, and of course for joining us today to take us through them all.
Thanks so much, Steve. Thanks very much for the welcome. And thanks also to all of the attendees who are joining us today online. We really appreciate that you're giving us your time on a Sunday afternoon for this session, and it really shows how much you care about the level of teaching that you are delivering to your students. music educators are definitely a dedicated cohort. It's been an absolute pleasure to serve on the advisory group for this renewal of the teaching syllabus over the past 3 years. It's been an absolute privilege to be part of the process of designing and refining the activities, the content and the supporting materials that you find in the new teaching syllabus. It's been wonderful to work with such a great team alongside the two syllabus key creators, Dr. Jennifer Blackwell and Dr. Bradley Merrick, as well as the other members of the advisory group, guided by the senior leadership team of the Federal Board of the AMEB. Between us, we covered a variety of different instruments in terms of our personal professional experience. And this has brought an excellent level of breadth of knowledge and understanding to our discussions and the planning for the syllabus. What we have in common is that we all have significant experience in studio teaching ourselves, a passion for music and for music education, experience in the training of teachers at the tertiary level, and being active music education researchers. And we brought that perspective and toolkit to our work over the past 3 years. The process of mapping the activities and really embedding them in key leading music education research has been very rigorous. And I can honestly say that it's really influenced my own way of thinking and doing in my own day job as a university music education lecturer. On a personal note, the AMEB has been a really core part to my life since I was 8 years old, and I'm sure that it has been for many of you attending and listening today. From all of my various hats from this perspective with the AMEB, an AMEB student doing exams, a teacher training students to take their own AMEB exams, a lecturer training teachers to teach students, a researcher, AMEB board member, and now parent of children who are now preparing for exams themselves. From all those different perspectives, I can see really clearly the value that this new syllabus will bring to the music education field across Australia. I'm really excited to see the activities, the guide to the assessment, and the companion reading text now pass into your hands, and to see the impact that it will now have upon the future growth of music education. Within the 2 levels of certification in the teaching syllabus, there's development offered here for all music educators, whether you're a new teacher starting out who would like to be more confident in your lesson planning, or an experienced teacher who would like to ensure that their work continues to be connected with international best practice and research in instrumental pedagogy. Now, if we could start the slide package that we have prepared for today, that would be great. So in today's seminar, we're going to take you through the themes that we were guided by in the development of the syllabus. I'll be walking you through the activities that you will be immersed in as you do the assessments at the 2 different levels. And we'll also talk through the value that we're providing with the 2 supporting publications for the syllabus, the Guide to Assessment and the companion text of key readings. And this slide puts some faces to the names behind the design of the new syllabus, very friendly faces. As you can see, it's been a pleasure working alongside these 2 wonderful colleagues. So first of all, a little bit more about Dr. Bradley Merrick. As you can see, Dr. Merrick brings a high level of expertise in music education from an Australian perspective. And many of you, particularly if you're from Melbourne, may well be familiar with him and his work. Dr. Merrick has a particular focus on ICT, online learning, motivation, creativity, and curriculum development, which was, of course, highly useful for the development of this syllabus. Next slide, thank you. Dr. Merrick's research has been published in many key peer-reviewed journals and publications, and in our specialist text for this syllabus, the teaching companion text. He's been published in the Oxford Handbook of Music Education, which is one of the most prestigious publications internationally. Dr. Merrick has been past president of the Australian Society of Music Education and sits currently on the board of ISME, the International Society of Music Education. Through these roles, as well as his other professional activities, he brings a wonderful level of professional expertise and connection to best international practice in music education. Dr. Jennifer Blackwell is one of the leading researchers internationally in music education. She's currently an assistant professor at Northwestern University. Her research covers a wide range of topics, including music teaching expertise from behavioural, cognitive, social, cultural, and affective perspectives, music performance expertise, popular music pedagogy, applications of authentic context learning paradigms, feedback in music contexts, and music teacher training. On a fun side note, as well as our many meetings in the design of the syllabus, Dr. Blackwell and I most recently saw each other on the other side of the world when we were both attending and presenting at the International Society of Music Education conference in Helsinki. And it was lovely to see that familiar face in the corridor as we're heading to our respective presentations. Dr. Blackwell is an absolute acknowledged expert in many areas of music education, but in particular at the moment is focusing on the use of feedback in music education, and that was her presentation in Helsinki. So looking now at some of the key aims overall as we were designing the syllabus. To put it into a nutshell, we wanted the syllabus to improve your confidence and connection to the best practice in the delivery of instrumental studio teaching here in Australia. We wanted to provide a clear, tested path for instrumentals teachers to further develop their teaching skills and understanding, and to bring us together in a community of best practice and support by connecting our work to the current themes and acknowledged evidence-based practice in instrumental pedagogy. So today, as well as unpacking all of the activities in the assessments of the syllabus, I'll also be featuring the content inside the 2 supporting publications that we've created for the syllabus. These are by no means add-ons. They're really central to the syllabus design and content and creation. Each is very valuable in its own right, and I'll be featuring the key content over the coming slides. The 2 supporting materials are the Guide to Assessment, which gives a really fully unpacked behind-the-scenes guide to all of the assessments that you need to do through the certifications. And the Teaching Companion Text, I honestly say, is one of the best music education research publications in recent times. On to the next slide, thank you. Through the entire process of creating the syllabus, we were aiming to align all of the activities, assessments, documents, and readings with our 4 key areas of focus. This is the compass that directs all of the content, if you'd like. And if you look closely through the syllabus, you'll find that we have linked to the following 4 questions throughout the syllabus and throughout the assessments. The questions are, why am I teaching? What skills and knowledge do I teach? How and when do I teach? And my performance as a teacher. We feel that through constant reflection on these questions, both as you complete the syllabus assessments and then afterwards through your teaching career, it will help you to continually improve your practice, your use of music resources, your delivery of your content, and your sequencing of content as well. I'm sure that we're all aware of the value of self-reflection and reflective practice for our students through their music education journey. This cycle of reflective practice is built into the syllabus as well, a reminder of the value of entering positively into a reflective cycle in our own work and our own practice, ourselves as teachers. This cycle is designed to promote positive thinking into improving our teaching from week to week and from year to year. I'm sure that you've all felt the energy that comes after attending a wonderful professional development session, or of observing a new teaching approach that we bring into our studio, or even of trying out something new that brings wonderful results. So this cycle is about harnessing that energy through our daily activities as teachers. The cycle begins obviously at number 1 with planning. the planning of your lessons, the planning of your learning activities with your students, the planning of the sequencing, the design of your curriculum for the year. Step 2 of the doing is the delivery of those lessons, the activation of the learning activities, the delivery and feedback provided to the students. Step number 3, reviewing, is assessing both how the student engaged with all of the intended learning activities, but also how you as a teacher delivered the content and the planning of the lesson. It's assessing and reviewing how the student responded to the activation of your plans and whether the intended result was gained. Through that process of review, you arrive at step number 4, new, which is reviewing your teaching strategies for the next cycle through, changing, reorganising, condensing, solidifying the content to meet the students' needs for future learning. Now we will do more of a deep dive into the detail of the 2 credentials, the Certificate Teacher of Music Australia and the Associate Teacher of Music Australia, including a breakdown of all the assessment tasks built into the 2 credentials. The Certificate Teacher of Music Australia, or the CT-MUS-A, as we refer to it, is intended for candidates who are already teaching, who have gained AMEB Grade 6 level on their instrument and Grade 4 AMEB in theory, musicianship or music craft. It's been specifically designed to assist teachers who may not have previously undertaken formal study in music education. It's recommended that candidates in this credential engage with experienced teachers, forming a mentor relationship to assist with the journey of completing the certificate. This credential is designed to build confidence for candidates who perhaps do not have previous pedagogy training or who would like to re-engage with their training and re-engage with current best research-led practice. Next slide, thank you. Wonderful. Looking now at the Associate Teacher of Music Australia. I'm sure that we're all aware of the prestige that an A-MUS-A diploma in performance offers. And I can still remember the absolute thrill that I experienced when I was presented with my A-MUS-A on the violin as a teenager. The AT-MUS-A offers a similar level of prestige and recognition within the teaching field. When I was considering this credential, I was reminded of an impactful book by the wonderful Paul Harris. Some of you may well have seen him on his recent tour of Australia. And his book is called The Virtuoso Teacher. And I really feel that completing this credential of the AT-MUS-A is what is in mind with that term, the virtuoso teacher. This is for candidates who have an AMEB Grade 8 in performance on their instrument or voice and Grade 5 in theory, musicianship or music craft. You are also expected to have either passed the CT-MUS-A or have equivalent prior learning and or significant teaching experience. Importantly, at this point, I just want to make clear that with both the CT-MUS-A and the AT-MUS-A, you will choose the performance level of the students that you will be focusing on as you deliver the assessment tasks. As you'll see when I go through the detail of the assessments, there are a number of tasks that ask you to be focusing on your teaching of your students. So both of these syllabus levels are relevant for the teaching of students of a range of levels from beginner through to advanced. And we wanted to be acknowledging that the teaching skills that you demonstrate can be just as skilled, just as advanced teaching with beginner level students as they are with Grade 8 level students. The assessments for the 2 different syllabus levels are obviously set out in the syllabus documents, but they are unpacked in a very detailed and very helpful way in the Guide to Assessment, which we've also published. And this is intended to really help you to fully understand each assessment task, as well as I said before, sort of unpacking some of the goals, the aims that we had as syllabus creators in designing the activities that you will be doing and being assessed on. We also provide exemplars and templates, very useful lesson plans and all sorts of files and resources through the Guide to Assessment that will be of great use to you both as you do the syllabus assessments, but also afterwards through the rest of your teaching activities. So looking first of all at the assessment summary for the CT Mase, the Certificate Teacher of Music Australia. With this level, as with the AT Mase, there are 3 sections of assessment and 2 tasks in each section, Task A and Task B, so 6 tasks in total. The assessments are designed to cover the broad range of skills required to be a really effective teacher. You'll be doing lesson planning, you'll be reflecting on your practice, you'll be giving teaching and performance demonstrations. Taken together, these assessments will be increasing your confidence and expertise as a teacher. You'll be deepening your analytical and reflective abilities, and you'll be connecting all of these activities with the findings of key international music education researchers. For a very brief summary of the assessments within the CT Mase, they're spread, as I said, across written and practical tasks. Within the written tasks, you'll be engaged in lesson planning, giving written responses to case studies that are commonly found in music education studio teaching. We had quite a lot of fun designing those case studies around hypothetical scenarios. You'll be doing an analysis of teaching strategies. Within the practical tasks, you'll be giving a teaching demonstration with a Viva Voce exam and also a performance of a selection of pieces from the teaching level that you have nominated to focus on, that you have focused on within the lesson planning also, and also a brief Viva Voce exam. Going through those tasks in a bit more detail now. So in section 1, this section focuses on the examination process and lesson design. The examination process being the examination of an AMEB comprehensive practical exam. And this links together with those questions that I was talking about right at the start, the questions of what and why do I teach? This is a written submission of 1,000 words. You're going to be discussing the purpose, in your own words, of every component of an AMEB comprehensive performance exam at the designated level that you have chosen to focus on. You'll be discussing the purpose of the oral tests, the technical work, the repertoire, the sight reading, the general knowledge, and you'll be creating examples of examination programs for 2 different grades. Then you'll be selecting one piece of repertoire for each grade to hero, in a way, to identify the key musical challenges in each of those pieces and presenting specific teaching strategies for each of those works that would help your student to overcome the challenges. Within section 1, task B is the designing of your lessons. This links with the how, what, and when do I teach. For this, you'll be submitting 4 lesson plans totaling 1,200 words. And over the 4 detailed lesson plans, you'll be including reference to all of the necessary components of your relevant syllabus. In lesson 1, you're expected to focus on a piece from the List A repertoire, together with a focus on general knowledge component of the exam and technical work. Lesson 2, a piece from List B, general knowledge and oral skills. Lesson 3, a piece from List C or D, general knowledge and sight reading. And lesson 4, examination preparation with reference to all syllabus areas. Each of the lessons are to include teaching strategies, content, objectives, questioning, feedback, warm-ups, demonstrations, practice, and assessment of your students. The Guide to Assessment provides a detailed lesson plan, explanation and template, which we do have coming up in a few more slides to give you a more detailed look at this. And this provides you with the level of detail required to really successfully complete this task, to show you exactly what we are looking for within the lesson plan. And this is free to download for those of you. It's an extremely useful resource. Thank you. Moving on to section 2 of the CT Mase, teaching effectively, linking with what and when do I teach? This is a written submission where you're responding to those case studies of music teaching scenarios. You're going to be submitting a written response to 3 case studies. And as I said, we, I think, have done a good job with the case studies of experiences that you may well already have experienced in your teaching practice or almost certainly will come across. So these are designed to be very practical and relevant. For this task, you must have read the AMEB Teaching companion text. We actually recommend that you read that as your first step of engaging with either the AT-MASE or the CT-MASE before you begin any of the assessment tasks. But for this task in particular, you're expected to be linking your responses through to the readings in the teaching companion text. You're expected to use evidence-based definitions and examples in your response to each of the scenarios. You can use additional sources. They may also be consulted and referred to in your responses, as long as they are reputable, evidence-supported sources. For that, we'd encourage you either looking at the further reading that is listed in the companion text or looking to academic peer-reviewed journals and academic books. In task B of section 2, we're looking at the why do I teach? This is a written submission of 600 words. You will have been given feedback on the lesson plans submitted in section 1, task B. For this task, you're required to select, modify, and resubmit one of those 4 original lesson plans. This is one of the tasks that very clearly links in with that cycle of reflective practice that we discussed earlier on. The goal of this task is to demonstrate that you, the candidate, can receive feedback yourselves, that you can reflect upon it, and that you can use it to improve your teaching practice. And through improving your teaching practice, improve student learning outcomes. So importantly, you're not being assessed in this task on how perfect your original tasks were. In fact, we recommend for this submission that you select the lesson plan that you were given the most constructive feedback about, because that will really enable you to be able to engage in this reflective practice. Section 3, this is the demonstration of your teaching and also the demonstration of your own performance. So with task A, demonstrating your teaching, putting the pieces together, this is a practical examination of your video teaching demonstration and a viva voce, just meaning live questioning by the examiner. 45 minutes in total. For this, you'll be submitting a video that includes 2 15-minute lessons demonstrating appropriate lesson plans, teaching strategies, performance examples, and demonstrations. These videos will be viewed with an examiner on the practical examination day, and you'll then have a short viva voce exam where you're questioned by the examiner. With task B, the live performance, you'll be performing a program of repertoire between 10 and 15 minutes, including a selection of works from the teaching level that you've focused on in all of the previous tasks, and 1 work of at least AMEB grade 6 performance level. You'll be asked questions about how you would teach one of those pieces, and you should be able to discuss technique, interpretation, general knowledge, strategies for student practice, and self-evaluation. Basically unpacking the challenges within that piece and how you as a teacher would assist your students in addressing those challenges. This is the example of the lesson plan that I was talking about. So this is included in the guide to assessment. Obviously, it's normally larger when you see it on your own screen. And just to go through the different components, as I mentioned, this is the lesson plan template. Directly before this, in the guide to assessment, we give an example, fully filled out lesson plan that gives a full level of detail of what we're looking for, what's meant by each of these different terms. But just to go through it briefly, the length of lesson is meaning literally the number of minutes in your lesson. Obviously, the title of the piece is pretty self-explanatory, or the activities to be used. The learning level of your students, that's the level that they're currently working at, and a brief bit of background around their previous experience. The aims are your overarching goals for the lesson. The lesson objectives are more specific. They're what your students will achieve in the lesson, and these need to be observable behaviours. Quite specific is what we're looking for. Similarly, when we have materials, we're also looking for quite specific information here. So not just musical materials, we're looking for a specific theory task sheet, or that you would need to have a Bluetooth speaker. The idea with this is that it's specific enough that you could easily replicate this lesson plan again yourself, or another teacher could even deliver it from your plans. With the tasks, these are the activities, the procedures, the strategies, the lesson activities. We're wanting them to be as active as possible, but also we are aware that students can react in a way that you haven't anticipated. So of course, these can be adapted as well. In the assessment part, this is how you will evaluate how well your students are meeting the objectives. You're listing formal and informal means of assessments. Example, listening to student performance, student self-evaluation, peer evaluation, or assessing from a recording together. Hopefully that gives you a little bit more information. As I said, the Guide to Assessment lays that out extremely clearly. Moving on now to the Associate Teacher of Music Australia Assessment Summary. As with the CT Mase, you'll see it's a very similar structure. We have our 3 sections of assessment with 2 tasks in each section, Task A and Task B, totaling the 6 assessments spread across the written and the practical tasks. These are designed to link in a deeper level with the themes, the tasks, the activities from the CT Mase. We do expect that some candidates will complete both of these different levels, and some may enter at the AT Mase level, but the 2 assessment components are designed to be holistic. So again, the assessment summary, as with the CT Mase, the AT Mase is spread across a broad range of the skills needed to be a truly effective teacher. We have written tasks that again include the development of lesson plans, the design of assessment activities, self-reflection on your teaching practice, and literature review. The practical tasks again involve a demonstration of teaching, viva voce, and performance assessment. Going through the details of the AT Mase now, in section 1, this is focusing on teaching strategies and a reflective journal literature review. Task A is focusing on lesson plan design, teaching strategies and assessment, and this is connecting in with those 4 main questions or areas of focus of what and why do I teach? With this submission, you're providing background information about one student, 3 consecutive lesson plans for that student that include assessment of the student's learning. And the Guide to Assessment provides a really detailed example of what examiners are looking for in this task. In task B, the review of literature, understanding my own teaching, this connects with the how do I teach? With this task, you'll be providing a 1,000-word written response to 2 of the articles from the AMEB Teaching Companion Text, which is one of our supporting publications. It can also be from the list of recommended further reading that's supplied at the end of each chapter of the Teaching Companion Text. With this task, you're going to be synthesizing, which means putting into your own words, combining and focusing on the key content of your selected readings, and showing how those readings connect to your own teaching practice. This is section 2, refining the teaching process through self-reflection. This is how can I refine my teaching? is the question that it's linking to. And with this, you're going to be submitting 2 video recorded teaching episodes from your own teaching and providing a detailed written self-reflection on each teaching episode. As I was saying earlier, with the reports and the reflections on your teaching and on your lesson planning, with these, we're not seeking for you to describe to us how perfect they were, how effective they were, but to engage in detailed reflection on them, both the aspects that you felt were very strong and that worked very effectively, but also areas that you feel could be adapted, could evolve in the future. You'll also be designing either an assessment task for your students, which would demonstrate their learning, or a report and practice strategy for the student that would further develop their skills. With task B, the reflected journal, you'll be submitting an extended reflective journal response on your own approach to teaching, drawing on the course material and your experiences. With the practical tasks, the teaching demonstration and live performance, you'll be submitting a video of an unedited 30-minute lesson together with a detailed lesson plan. And similarly to the CT Mosaic, the video will be viewed with the examiner at an examination centre, and there's then a viva voce exam about the content and the lesson plan. There's also, similarly to the CT Mosaic, a live performance assessment. As you can see, this one is slightly longer. You'll be performing a program of between 10 and 15 minutes, including a selection of works from your designated teaching level. That's the level that you've chosen to focus on through all of the tasks, but also including one piece at minimum grade 8 level. You'll be demonstrating your teaching knowledge through a short verbal discussion of the challenges of one piece and how you would approach teaching it. But they may also be asked questions by the examiner about any of the pieces performed. So just to give an example at this point, I've spoken a few times about the viva voce, the questioning by the examiners. So some examples of the sorts of questions that you might find from the examiner of the video of teaching at the AT Mosaic level. You may be asked, how and why did you choose the activities in this lesson? You could be asked, in what ways did you involve the student in the teaching learning process? How did you help the student to overcome performance challenges during the lesson? Were your strategies effective? Why? Why not? You could be asked, how are you developing fundamental technical skills with your students at this stage of their learning? Linked to that, what are common technical challenges that students have at this stage of learning? And how would your teaching support your students in addressing these challenges? You might be asked, how was this lesson reflective of your awareness of best practice in music teaching? You could be suggesting 2 to 3 areas for the student to practice next and giving demonstrations of how to practice them and why these would be important for the next lesson. You might be asked, did you follow your lesson plan exactly, or did you deviate from it? If you did deviate, if you changed or adapted it, discuss why, because this could have been a positive or a negative move. That's just to give some more examples of the viva voce. Okay, moving on now to look at the teaching companion text. So this is a really key resource. As I said, we actually recommend this as your starting point with engaging with the syllabus content and your starting point before embarking on any of the other assessment activities. And this was a set of evidence-based articles on best practice in studio music teaching that was edited by Dr. Jennifer Blackwell. And it was specifically commissioned as a subject reader for our teaching syllabus. To me, this resource achieves almost the unachievable. It's got the rare combination of having rich content, in-depth research, with being very readable, very digestible, clear, and practical. So it's connecting the ideas and the practice of key researchers across education philosophies and learning outlines and theories of learning, and connecting that in a really practical way with the day-to-day life of an instrumental or vocal teacher in a studio. Here I have just some of the themes that are covered within the companion text. Begins with an introduction to theories of learning. This is including the work of key researchers such as Jean Piaget, Jerome Bruner, Lev Vygotsky, and it's discussing the ways that some of their principles, such as the spiral curriculum or schema, can be applied to our work within the studio. It's looking at effective music teaching, the question of musical development and talent, the importance of comprehensive musicianship, of connecting together all of those different aspects of musical skill, including general knowledge, sight reading, creativity, with repertoire and technique. How to assess performance, the importance of providing effective feedback, how to teach your students to practice. We are all fully aware of the huge importance of effective practicing with our students for their development and for very much connected to their motivation, also as well as their progress. And this chapter really unpacks step-by-step advice with how to teach your students to practice in a really effective way. It discusses intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation, and key themes around motivation for practice and performance. It gives very in-depth information and advice on the teaching of rhythm, note learning, oral skills, the sequencing of music learning, planning for effective lessons. A really key area that I'm certainly concerned with is how to support students with music performance anxiety. I'm sure it is something that we are all very familiar with, perhaps through our own activities as performers or through supporting our own students. This chapter is published by one of the experts in the area, Dr. Margaret Osborne, and it goes behind the symptoms, if you'd like, of music performance anxiety into what's lying behind it, and also very practical steps to address it. It's a wonderful chapter about the value of technology and how it can support online instrumental and vocal teaching really effectively. A chapter on preparing your students for the performance examination, and a final chapter reflecting on teaching. There will be a series of videos coming soon based on these readings, so watch this space. I'm sure you'll be given further information about that. That concludes my slides. We will have time for Q&A. I just want to finish by saying we're really proud to be offering this new resource to the music education community. And as I said at the start, I'm really excited now to see it pass into your hands and to see your response to the materials and the assessments. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Emily. Look, there are a number of questions that have come through via the chat that I would like to run through very shortly. Firstly, though, some nuts and bolts information about this new syllabus. We're incredibly excited that this has all come together and is available now. The two first sections of the syllabus, so section 1 and 2, are both written components, and they are enrolled for and assessed through the federal office. And so you can enroll for those by going to score.ameb.edu.au. That's score, score.ameb.edu.au. And if you register through SCORE, you'll be able to pull up those qualifications. You can just go to the teaching qualification button under Enroll Now. And there's some detail about the pricing for each examination, and you're able to enroll there and then. For the third section, section 3, that's of course a practical examination during which you'll observe a video recording of your own teaching that you make with one of your students, and you observe that alongside an examiner or examiners, depending on whether you're doing the certificate or the associate level of examination. followed by a viva voce style exam. All of that happens through the state office. So your local state office will run that practical side of the examination, or that practical component of the syllabus, and information about enrolment and enrolment prices can be obtained through your state office. So that's just one of the I guess, logistical matters to think about when enrolling in the syllabus. The first two components, the first two sections run through SCORE, the AMEB Federal Office's website, and then the third goes through your local state office at an examination centre, hopefully near you. So there's a couple of questions I'd love to run through right now, and please do send through any additional questions if we don't get through to your question right now. First of all, does this mean I have to have a teacher license in order to do the certificate? I'm happy to answer that. There's no requirement to do no requirement for a teacher's license or registration to undertake either the CTMSA or ATMSA. But both syllabuses are designed for candidates who are already teaching in one context or another. So we imagine the people that will find this syllabus most useful are people who are already teaching in a studio context, or they may be teaching private lessons through a school or through a music school, but teacher's registration or teacher's license is not required in order to undertake the certificate. Another question that's come through for the ATMSA, if I have a certificate of Master of Pedagogy in Music, do I still need this certification to teach? Emily, do you want to weigh in on that?
I'm not quite clear with that one, whether it's referring to the certificate, Teacher of Music Australia. If it's referring to that, then no, that may well be prior, what we call prior teaching experience, which would classify you directly for sitting for the ATMSA as opposed to the CTMSA. I hope I'm interpreting that question correctly.
Yeah, so the certificate is really designed as a foundational kind of course, or a foundational qualification. So if you have prior teaching qualifications, including a master, you might have a master in teaching, or you might have a graduate certificate or something along those lines where you've done specific pedagogy training. You might find that the ATMSA is more appropriate to refine your teaching practice. It might be a more appropriate qualification. Probably a good idea is to download the syllabus document and even the guide to assessment, and you'll quickly get a feel for whether those materials and those kinds of assessment tasks are appropriate for you, or whether it's something that you've already done at that stage. Are these teaching certificates part of a BMUS study, or who are these certificates targeting? Emily?
Not currently part of the degree formal structure at any institution, as far as I'm aware. They're very new syllabus offerings. So at present, they're intended for people who are already teaching in the community and wish to upskill in instrumental studio teaching pedagogy. Yeah.
Thank you. So another question that's come through. Are these so similar question, are these two new certificates for teachers that don't have a music or teaching degree? Is there any advantage in doing them if you already have other qualifications? I'm happy to answer that if that's okay. So if you these qualifications would be absolutely perfect. For instance, if you've done a performance degree and you haven't engaged in any specific teacher training, the certificate Teacher of Music Australia would be an excellent place to start. Again, just to equip yourself with those foundational concepts, the current best international practice and research-based approaches to various different topics in music teaching, which you may not have covered in a performance degree as such. The teaching qualifications, or the two teaching syllabuses, are really aimed to equip candidates with specific teaching skills rather than playing skills. The assumption is that you already have a level of technical proficiency and ability to play the instrument and knowledge of the instrument. These are really about coming up to speed with teaching thought and teaching practices as they are kind of led around the world internationally. So something else that's come through, as a previous teacher for ATMSA, it was almost impossible to prepare a student without an extensive existing library of materials. Are all the materials provided in the books, or is there an expectation to have access to external materials?
I feel like obviously access to the materials that you would expect to be using in preparing a candidate for the AMEB comprehensive performance exams would be the expectation. Yeah.
But in terms of the teaching syllabus itself, the companion text is really designed to have all of the material that you need in order to start putting together the written components of the syllabus.
Yeah. Yeah,
so it really is designed as a one-stop shop for the information that you'll need in order to respond to those assessment tasks. However, at the end of every chapter in the companion text is a list of further reading for anybody who thinks they would like to delve a little bit deeper on that topic. There's a list of articles and publications that you can start exploring if that's a particular area of interest for you. But there isn't the way that it was designed was to have all of the information in that companion text. That's the AMEB Teaching companion text. That's really where all of the information should sit in order to respond to all of those assessment tasks. A practical question: how much does each examination cost? Each section has a slightly different pricing depending on the amount of time it's going to take to mark, how many examiners are required. So for the associate examinations, there's 2 examiners required for each section. For the certificate, there's only 1. So in order to look at those, if you go to score.ameb.edu.au, you'll be able to get the pricing for the written components, and the practical component that needs to be enrolled through your state office, and each state has slightly different prices depending on their own requirements. So the section 3, you'll need to contact your state office to get updated pricing around that. We're looking at approximate totals at this point in time. Of course, it'll change every year. We're looking at approximately $700 for all aspects of or all sections of the certificate. That's across the entire certificate, a total of around about $700, and then around about $990 for the associate. But it just depends on which state you're in, and those prices will be adjusted over the years depending on when you enroll. So there's a question about teacher registration and teaching licensing. Basically, a few questions have come through about whether you can use the AMEB syllabus in order to achieve teacher registration or teacher licensing. At this stage, unfortunately, the ATMSA or the CTMSA can't be used to register with the various different teaching boards around Australia. Do you have anything to add there, Emily? The syllabus is really about supporting one-to-one studio teaching at the heart of it. So classroom teaching registrations aren't really a part of what.
I was just reading the question about would you be a classroom teacher after passing CTMSA? No, you would not. That's a different category of teaching registration, but these are certainly very useful for professional development within instrumental studio teaching.
Thank you. Is the companion text available to purchase to teachers regardless of enrolling for the exam?
Yes, it is.
Absolutely. And we really hope that all sorts of interested teachers would engage with that companion text. It's really a valuable resource and covers so many key topics in music teaching, everything from motivation, effective music practice, dealing with performance anxiety, all of these topics that you come across all of the time in music teaching are covered in one way or another. So we hope that many people will engage with that text, regardless of whether they undertake the syllabus itself. Is specific music theory specified in the materials? How is meter defined? Well, that's very specific. Emily, did you have anything about that?
Look, there is a section in the teaching companion text that does delve into, as I said, the teaching of rhythm. It discusses different systems, rhythm syllable systems, Takadimi, Kodai rhythm syllables, etc. But again, I'd be advising you to be familiar with the expectations for the AMEB performance comprehensive exams, because that's the model that we're looking at.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And you know, different definitions of meter, that's always an interesting conversation to have, and maybe something that you can approach with particular students depending on how advanced they are. This syllabus, as much as possible, is designed to be pretty agnostic, and the way that you teach students concepts like rhythm and meter shouldn't really have any effect on how you can progress through the syllabus. But in terms of music theory specified, there is a requirement for each of those two qualifications, and that's grade 4 theory for the certificate and grade 5 theory for the ATMUS-A. So there is a theory requirement, but your particular approach to teaching music theory or theoretical concepts within your own teaching is not specified for sure.
And I think it has sorry, Steve, I think it has alternatives, doesn't it? So for the theory level for you, for candidates, then it could be theory, musicianship, or music craft, but at that grade level, as that's set out in the syllabus.
That's right. Look, there's a couple of more questions I'd like to quickly go through, but I'm aware that we're getting to the end of our time. Do you recommend teachers consulting with a mentor who has done the previous ATMUS-A?
We certainly recommend connecting with a mentor teacher. The most important thing is an experienced teacher. But yeah, absolutely. Somebody who's previously done the ATMUS-A, I'm sure, would be a great choice.
And just to reiterate, the idea of connecting with a music teacher we see as being, or a mentor teacher as being incredibly valuable. And of course, that's where you'll get the specifics of your particular instrumental pedagogy. We haven't baked how to hold the bow or how to sit at the piano into this syllabus. This is really about the teaching side of things, and so connecting with a mentor teacher who can really delve into those instrument specific concepts, we think is a really good way to go. If you have a certificate of performance from the AMEB but you don't have grade 8, is this still a valid requirement? We see the certificate of performance as being one level above grade 8, and these are minimum requirements. So if you have a certificate of performance, then that is acceptable. Of course, you'll need to be able to teach the appropriate oral tests and general knowledge and sight reading and all of that sort of thing within the syllabus also. So you'll need to be aware of that, even if you haven't taken those in your grade 8 exam. Look, I think we've probably come to the end of our time now. A few more questions have come through, but I think we're really out of time. I'll see if there's anything I can cover very quickly. Is the assessment only for the comprehensive classical exams, or are the 4 leisure exams able to be assessed? Emily, would you like me to take that, or would you like to take that one?
Sure, you can take that, but yes, it is comprehensive. Yeah.
Yes. So within the syllabus, the sight reading and oral test and general knowledge and what we often call the section 3 kind of tests are all part of the AMEB teaching syllabus, and so it needs to be through the comprehensive exam that you undertake the syllabus with each of those components. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending. Two further things I'd like to bring up. One is that the companion text is currently being printed in a hard copy version and will be available very shortly as a hard copy publication. It's already available as an ebook at ameb.edu.au. On a related note, we're inviting the leading music pedagogy researchers who contributed to the AMEB companion text for a series of webinars or teaching videos that we'll release very shortly. We're creating a series of on-demand teaching skills videos so that you can access the latest research on core aspects of music teaching. Each of these standalone videos will feature an Australian or international expert focusing on their chapter from the Teaching Syllabuses companion text. We've designed these to be an accessible professional development tool, so you'll be able to access a professional development certificate for every video that's purchased and watched, and we'll be releasing the first video in November. The series will cover everything from developing student motivation to providing effective feedback, and we'll release these over the coming months from November into next year. The videos translate research findings into practical teaching concepts that are relevant and useful to music teachers of all levels, and we're really confident that you'll find them valuable, whether you're looking for fresh ideas or working towards your CTMUS-A or ATMUS-A. We'll certainly be sharing more details with anybody who registered for this webinar very soon. So thank you again, Emily, for today's presentation, and of course for your enormous contribution as part of the advisory group for the syllabus. And again, to the whole syllabus team, thanks, Emily, and to the whole syllabus team, Dr. Bradley Merrick, Jennifer Blackwell, Dr. Rita Cruz, Dr. Jodie Heald, Tess Hill, Valerie Lang, and Dr. Elizabeth Mitchell, as well as the AMEB Federal Office staff and AMEB State Office staff who offered further feedback and guidance throughout the process. Thanks also to behind-the-scenes AMEB team, especially Bernard De Pasquale, AMEB's CEO, Nkeche Anel, Fiona Ng, and Maxine Day for making this online workshop possible. And last, but certainly not least, thank you to everyone who's attended this webinar. We hope that the new teaching syllabus and offerings serve the teaching community as a useful and inspiring resource for many years to come. So thanks again, and have a lovely afternoon.